Hi, my name's Zachary Smith. Welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing a little bit of a shootout between the HX Stomp and the Boss OD-200. I'm going to use three sounds that I think they're trying to model basically the same thing. It's two digital distortions, so I just wanted to see how they compare, if the Boss standalone overdrive pedal is worth having alongside an HX Stomp, or if you can get pretty much exactly the same sound inside the box. If that sounds like something you're into, stick around. Okay, so we got the two units here. The Line 6 HX Stomp, which has many overdrive, distortion, fuzz sounds in it. And the Boss OD-200, which has 12 overdrive, distortion, fuzz emulations in it. It's a digital pedal, so this is digital versus digital. Which one's better? Are they the same? Is it worth having something like this alongside your HX Stomp or Helix? So just before we get going, the routing is pretty simple, but it's guitars coming into the HX Stomp, and it's going out of the effects loop into the OD-200, and then out of the Helix in stereo into the Zoom H5 recorder. So pretty bare bones setup. Nothing is going to be too weird. When the orange light is on, that is when the drive sound is coming from the HX Stomp, and when it's off, it's being replaced by the effects loop, which is the Boss OD-200. So that kind of gives you a way to follow along. Let's start. I've made some presets here, so I'm just going to go. We'll start with the Klon Centaur. I've made some save sounds. You have 4 memory spots on the OD-200, so I've the first 3 being used by sounds that are very similar to what's going on in the HX Stomp. Okay, so here is my sound without any of the drives on. I have a little bit of delay, a little bit of reverb coming from the HX Stomp, and it's going through a Fender Bassman style amp and cab. The cab, I believe, is a 4x10 tweed. So that's pretty simple, clean sound with a little bit of delay, a little bit of reverb. So here is the Klon Centaur from the HXFX. It's called the Minotaur. And here it is from the Boss OD-200. Back to the Line 6. Let's try with the bridge pickup. I'll roll the gain back just a hair. And the Boss OD-200. So my impression on that is that it's pretty hard to say that there's any real substantial difference. There is, slight variation. That's just partly because it's hard to match the settings on the HX effects. You have a standard tone knob and a gain and level. But those gain and level spots are really not equivalent to anything that's on the Boss. And of course, you don't have a tone knob on the Boss, you have a 3-band EQ. So, I think I've been able to adjust the settings to get it pretty close, but there's slight variation, but it's not a quality thing. It's hard for me to say that one sounds better than the other. They sound very similar to me. But let's move on. The next one on the list is Tube Screamer. This is probably the closest in terms of what they are trying to emulate. There's some variation in analog pedals, so even one pedal to another could be a slightly different circuit, but this is a pretty mass-produced pedal, so it's going to be very similar. Let's hear what the OD-200 sounds like. And the HX Stomp. I'm just going to turn the highs down a bit on that preset. They're already down a bit. But sounds to me like there's quite a bit more high frequency coming through on the OD-200, so just try and balance that out a bit. Here's the HX Stomp. Let's try a little bit without the delay and reverb. So again, I think they're extremely similar. It's really hard to tell which one's better. Anything in there that you'd want to adjust, there's still room on the knobs to brighten it up, darken it up, turn the gain up, turn the level up. So any of that could be done still. Let's try rolling the gain back a bit and using the bridge. OD-200. With the delay and reverb. back to the Helix. Yeah, I'd say overall, I'm not hearing a lot of variation in there that is of any consequence to me. You can make up your mind if you hear something. Let's go on to the last one. I'm going to try the Big Muff style fuzz. So we'll start with the gain roll back a bit, and we're on the HX Stomp. OD-200. So you can hear some differences in this one. I think the gain might be just a little bit too high on the OD-200. It seems like it's at the point where the kind of pedal's kind of falling apart a bit, which it's not yet on the HX Stomp. I think it's hard to say, which one's better still, because the Big Muff is. There's various versions of the Big Muff, so that they might not be even modeling the same, year at all, let alone there's variation pedal to pedal. So it just depends on if you like the model that's in the OD-200, that's great. But again, there's one option there. There's a lot of different fuzzes available on the HX Stomp. And so... it has to be a really good fuzz for you to, want to get the OD-200. For me, I think overall, the variation is extremely small, which I'm happy to hear. I think, if you compare this to an analog pedal, it's still hard to say that it's better, but there's some kind of reason to keep around an analog pedal. But I think if you have both of these units, you got a lot of different digital overdrives, which is maybe not that useful. I can see keeping your favorite analog drive in the chain, but keeping an OD-200 would only be useful, I think, if you wanted more DSP. If you needed more slots, that'd be the only reason to go to an OD-200 for me. To be able to use the drive from here and free up some space on the HX Stomp for other effects. But if that's not something you need to do, I don't know if I would recommend the OD-200 alongside an HX Stomp. I do think the sounds in both are really good. There's nothing wrong with them. For me, I think I'm kind of, getting over feeling like I want to have analog drive pedals. I think it's nice to have. I mean, I got my Bassman here, which I will record occasionally, but when it comes down to it, you know, the drive sounds digitally are so good. It's not really worth my time, even in my studio, to go set up a mic on this cabinet, unless I have a very particular sound that I'm going after. You know, 9 times out of 10, it's better to just spend your time working on your part and pull up, you know, something in Pro Tools, an amp modeler, or use this pedal. You know, that's kind of, I don't think you're going to hear much of a difference, especially when everything's going to be digital anyway. You know, it's going to be in Pro Tools or whatever. It's all digital files. Does it really matter? Probably not. And so when it comes to live stuff, like, digital sounds just as good, and it's got all of the flexibility that you would be craving. I think both of these things are basically competing, but, you know, in terms of which ones sound better, it's pretty hard to say for me. But, you know, if you liked one more in those demos, then by all means, go after it. Thanks a lot for watching. Please like this video and subscribe to my channel.